Hello, so creatives, it's Faustina here. Welcome to another interesting tutorial. On today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to cut and sew this beautiful fitted pencil gown with side ruffles and also a one shoulder sleeve with puff sleeve. So this class is fully loaded with so many sewing techniques. You see how beautiful it's looking on me. On this class, we are going to learn how to cut our one shoulder sleeve, asymmetric sleeve, and we're also going to learn how to eliminate zipper bulge on our gown or on our clothes. You see how flat the zip is laying on my body. So we are going to learn how to eliminate zipper bulge from our outfit and also learn how to sew these side ruffles and also learn how to pencil our pencil gown very well. So this class is loaded. It's not something that you like to watch half or stop on the way. Make sure that you watch to the end of the video. So this is the material we work with. It's 3 yards of fabric. The length of the fabric is 60 inches by length. So if you want to replicate this particular design, you have to buy 60 inches length fabric, like a crepe fabric or a fabric that is 60 inches by length, and 3 yards of it. But if you want to work with ankara, you can go ahead and buy like 4 to 5 yards of ankara. So we will start by drafting out our pattern. So I went ahead to lay our pattern very flat, and I went ahead to mark out our starting line, which will serve as our shoulder. So we are drafting both the upper part and the down part together. So I went ahead to impute my shoulder divide by 2 plus our neck width of 3 inches. So on that my shoulder divide by 2, I came down by 1.5 inches for our shoulder slope, and I'm going to taper it to our neck width measurement. And on that our shoulder slope, we now go ahead and start calculating our armhole depth. So how do you get your armhole depth? Your bust divide by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So that is to say that my bust was 36 divided by 6. It gave me 6 plus 1.5. I have in total 7.5. So from my shoulder slope, I'm going to impute the 7.5. So in order to mark out the line and to get our straight line, we are going to now that 7.5 measure what we have from the shoulder to that 7.5, and we have 9. So I went ahead to mark out the 9 into several places so as to get our straight line. You can see me marking out the dot. So after getting the dot, we went ahead to rule it out, and that will serve as our armhole depth, which is also known as our chest line. So I'm going to impute my shoulder divide by 2 under our chest line to get my armhole line, like so. So after getting my armhole line, I'm going to, from my shoulder, impute my bust point as well into several places, and I'm going to rule it out like so, and I'm going to label it my bust point. So on my shoulder as well, I'm going to impute my front waistline. Remember that your front waistline and your back waistline is not the same. Your front waistline is always longer than your back waistline because of the presence of bust in your front waistline. So after imputing my front waistline, I went ahead to now mark out my front waist to my hip line of 9 inches, and I went ahead to label it as well. So this is our vertical line for now. And from my waistline, I'm also going to also come down by my waist to my knee measurement. Because it's a pencil gown, we need our knee measurement in order to pencil the gown very well. So I went ahead to impute my knee measurement, and I also went ahead to label it, and this is our vertical lines for now. After getting all our vertical lines, we start working on our horizontal line, which is the circumference of our bodies. So on my chest line, I'm going to impute my bust divide by 4 value, and also do the same on my bust point. While on my waist, front waist, I'm going to impute my waist circumference divide by 4 plus 1.5 inch dart intake because we are going to take in dart on the waist area, and I'm going to join them to my chest line and my bust point like so. And on the hip line, I'm going to also impute my hip divide by 4, and I also join it to my waistline using my pattern curve. You see how I'm trying to place my pattern curve, so I will join it to my hip line like so. So for the penciling of our beautiful gown, this is how you go about the penciling. On the knee, we are going to impute what we have on the hip in order to get our straight line firstly, before we now start penciling our beautiful gown. So from our hip line on the knee, we are going to come in by 2 inches, and that 2 inches we are going to now rule it out to go and meet our hip line like so. So we have automatically penciled our gown. You see how penciled the knee is looking. So we are going to now take down what we have on that knee to the hem part of our gown. But before then, let's impute our bust span on our waist and on our hip line and also on our bust point. So the bust span is also known as your nipple to nipple measurement. So after reading it up on my hip line, I'm going to go up by 3 inches, while on the waist, remember we added 1.5 inches, so that 1.5 inches I'm going to divide it into two, and I have 0.75 which I shared on both sides of our nipple to nipple line. And on our bust point, I came down by 1 inch, and I went ahead to rule out my dart legs like so. So I will now complete the dart leg by also ruling out all the way to the 3 inches we come off from the hip line. So after getting our waist dart, we now go ahead and impute our side dart, our side bust dart. So your side bust dart is the difference between your front waistline and your back waistline. That is to say, my front waistline is 17 and my back waistline is 15.5. That if you minus 15.5 from 17, you have 1.5 inches, which I came down from my side and taper it to my bust point. So after which, I now on our shoulder came down by 3 inches for my neck depth, and I now complete my neck round neck like so. So on the chest line, I go up by 3 inches and I came out by 0.75, and I now taper it to my shoulder slope like so. So after which, I will now complete my armhole curve using my curve rule. So after getting my armhole curve, we will now start working on the length, on the complete length of our beautiful gown. So from my shoulder, I'm going to measure my shoulder to my knee measurement. So after measuring it, I have 39 inches. So I'm going to place 39 inches on my pattern paper, and I will now go ahead and complete the length of my gown like so. So I now went ahead to complete the length of my gown, and I rule it out. And after ruling it out, I went ahead to measure what I have on the knee, like the value I have on the knee, and I'm going to place it on the hem part also. The value I have on the knee, I also place the same thing on the length of our gown, and I'm also going to use the pattern rule to rule it straight up to meet our knee line on a straight line. Line must be very very straight. So this is it. Our front pattern is complete. We now move over to start drafting the back part. So for the back, we are also going to draft it on the same pattern paper. So from our shoulder, we are going to come down by 9 inches. We are going to maintain the front armhole depth on the back as well. So I came down by 9 inches into several places, and I rule it out. And after ruling it out, I'm going to label the place we use for our center back. You can see me labeling it. So on the shoulder, I imputed my shoulder divide by 2, and also on the chest line, and I went ahead to rule out my armhole line. So on the shoulder as well, I imputed my neck width of 3 inches, and on the armhole line, I came down by 1.5 inches and also slope my back shoulder to meet my neck width. For my neck depth for the back, I came down by 1 inch and I ruled it out. For my armhole line, I went ahead to divide it into two and find the midpoint, and on that midpoint, I came in by 0.25, which is half inch, and I taper it to my shoulder slope. And on my chest line I imputed my bust divide by 4, which I went ahead to complete my armhole curve. So we now start marking out all other vertical lines. So from my shoulder I'm going to impute my back waistline. From my shoulder I imputed my back waistline into several places. I went ahead to rule it out like so, and also go ahead and label it my back waistline. So from my back waistline I'm going to impute my hip line of 9 inches, and I'm going to rule it out also, which after ruling it out I'm also going to label it as well. So after getting my hip line I'm also going to go ahead and mark out my waist to my knee line as well. My waist to my knee line of 22 inches, I also go ahead and mark it as well. I also rule it out and also go ahead and label it. So at this point my marker got exhausted, so I have to switch to pen. So on our waist we are going to do what we know as waist contouring, and this waist contour is what we eliminate zipper bulge on our center back. So after going in from our center back by 1 inch, I'm going to taper it all the way to our shoulder line, and also taper it all the way to our hip line, like so. You can see what I'm trying to do. So after tapering the two lines, you will have a curve. The center back of your cloth will now be on a curved line rather than a straight line. So after getting this curved line, you can see center back is formed. So after getting the curved line, we now start marking our horizontal measurement, which is our body circumference. I have imputed my bust divide by 4 and I also do the same on the waist. My waist divide by 4 plus 1.5 inch that intake, and I will also do the same thing on the hip line. My hip divide by 4, and I will now taper it all the way to my waistline like so. So after getting my hip line, we now start working on the back pencil line. So for the back pencil line, we are also going to impute our hip line to get a straight line like we did for the front. So after getting the straight line, on that straight line I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches, which I'm going to taper all the way to the hip. And also for the center back, I'm also going to come in by 1 inch on the center back and also taper it to the hip as well. So for the back penciling, we are penciling both the center back and the side back. So for the side back I came in by 1.5 inches, while for the center back I came in by 1 inch. So this is also what you are going to do for the length of your gown. So like I said earlier, from our shoulder to our knee is 39. So I'm basically going to place that 39 on the waist as well, and also go ahead and complete the length of my gown. So after completing the length of my gown, the exact thing that I did on the knee part, I'm also going to repeat the same on the hem part of our gown. And I'm going to use our straight rule to rule it very straight to meet our knee line. So this is it. Our straight pencil gown has been formed also. So this is how you pencil the back of your gown to get a very pencil gown. So this is after ruling it out. I went ahead to show you the difference between the front and the back. So I went ahead to rule out the length of my front gown, and I went ahead to measure it. After measuring it, the difference I have was 1.5 inches. So that is the difference between our front waistline and our back waistline. You can see that we have eliminated that issue. So for it to match, we are going to close that side bust that we have on the front. So after closing the side bust, we are going to now match it, and you will see that it will match. On the waistline, I'm going to impute our bust span on our waistline, on our hip line, and also on our chest line, and I'm going to rule it out like so in a straight line. And after getting our nipple to nipple measurement, we are now going to open up our dart leg by 0.75 into 2 places, and now go ahead and form our dart. So remember that the allowance we left for that was 1.5. So that 1.5 we are going to divide it into 2. So after getting our waist dart, we are also going to put another dart on that waist, which is our center dart. So on the waist we are going to go up by half an inch and also come down by half an inch on the center back, and we are going to form a dart leg. So we are going to now taper that half an inch all the way to our side waist, like so, like we are forming a dart on that side waist. So after forming the dart, this is what we are going to have. So automatically we added 2 darts on our back pattern. So I will now go ahead and start cutting it out. You see how I'm trying to cut out the place that we don't need. So I will go ahead and now cut it out, and also do the same to the front pattern. After cutting this back, I go ahead and cut the front pattern off camera. So I've gone ahead to cut both the tutu pattern out, and this is what we have. This is for our long pencil gown without any half cut. So because the gown we are trying to replicate have a half cut, it must have a half cut in order for us to add the ruffles by the side. So we are going to go ahead and now close our side dart, like so. I'm going to close up the side dart and now use my office pin to keep it in place before we now slash the waist in order to separate the upper part from the down part. So after closing the dart, I will go ahead and match up the 2 pattern from the side and see if it will match. So I'm basically going to pin down the armhole area with my office pin so that it will not be shifting up and down. So after pinning it down, I will start matching it gently by the side to see if it will match on the hem part of our gown. And tara, you see it's matching. So this is just it. There is no magic in it. It's just that the side that once you close the side that your pattern will automatically match up. So we now go ahead and start opening up our waist dart. So we are going to go ahead and slash through the waist in order to get our upper part and also our down part. So I will now go ahead and slash through the waist to separate the upper part from the down part. So for the front, after slashing through the waist, for the front I don't want to have a dart on the down part of our beautiful gown. So after slashing through the waist, what I'm going to do is to go ahead and close up my down dart like so, and also pin it down with my office pin. So also note that while closing your dart on your pattern, close from the side, don't close from the center. So on the center of the down part, I came down by 1 inch and I taper it all the way to our side waist to in order to eliminate the front bubbles, any front bubbles that will be formed when we after sewing our cloth. So removing that 1 inch will eliminate that front bubbles. If you watch closely, you can see that my center front was very flat on my body. So that is the essence of removing that 1 inch on the center front of your pattern. So when I close up our pattern, this is what we are going to have. So after eliminating that 1 inch, we are going to keep the down part aside, and for the front we are going to slash through the dart in order to remove that bubbles that is on the bust area. So I'm going to go ahead and slash through my dart and open up my dart leg in order to eliminate that bubbles, because we are going to lay this pattern very flat on our beautiful fabric. So after removing my dart leg, you can see that our pattern is now laying very flat, and we will now keep the front aside and start working on the back. For the back, you simply slash through the side dart that we added on the center back. So after slashing through the dart, our pattern, our back pattern is also formed, the upper part and the down part. So you see how slanted that center back is looking. So that is it. So after slashing the waist dart, you now go ahead and close up the down dart because I don't want to have a dart on the down part as well. So I'm basically going to close it from the side. I'm going to raise my side dart to meet my center back dart. I'll pin it down with my office pin. So this is it. Our both our front and the back is basically ready. So this is all our patterns. This is the front pattern and the upper part, and the other one is for the back. So we now go ahead and now start transferring the two patterns to our beautiful fabric like so. So I'm basically going to fold the fabric into two, and also note that the center front, both the upper part and the down part, is unfold, and this is the sign of the pattern being unfold. So I've gone ahead to fold my pattern into two, and the center front of it is unfold, and while the back is not unfold. So I'll go ahead and start adding my same allowances by the side, which is also known as our sewing allowances by the side. So I added 1 inch sewing allowance, and on the waist side I'm going to add half inches on the waist, and on the hem also I'm going to add 1 inch allowance for our hemming allowance. So don't forget to add hemming allowance, because if you didn't add any hemming allowance after sewing your gown and hemming with your original body measurement, you'll be lacking measurement, like the length of your gown will be short. So also remember to add hemming allowance. And for the back I added 1 inch zipper allowance on the zipper area, and also added 1 inch sewing allowance on the side, and half inch on the waist. So I will now go ahead and start cutting it. So when cutting out your pattern from your fabric, always place one hand on your pattern in order to keep it in place, so that your pattern will not be shifting. So always place one hand on your pattern, and as you are cutting you be shifting your hand. If you watch me closely, you see what I'm doing when cutting my own. So you see I'm placing one hand on my pattern in order to keep it in place and also stop it from shifting up and down, especially when you are working with a fabric that is slippery. So this type of fabric, you place one hand on top of your pattern in order to keep the fabric from shifting up and down. So after cutting, I went ahead to notch the zipper allowance. I give it a small notch. So after notching it, this is our pattern. I've gone ahead to cut the tutu pattern and also cut the upper part. For the upper part, I added half inch on the neck, half inch on the shoulder, half inch on the armhole, 1 inch by the side, which is our sewing allowance, and half inch on the waist area. And I also do the same thing to the back, half inch on the shoulder, on the neck, on the side, which is 1 inch, and 1 inch zipper allowance, and on the waist I added half an inch. So watch out for the part 2 of this particular tutorial, and the part 2 will be the sewing part of it. So if you are watched to this point, thanks for watching. Bye.